Hello and welcome to Gag of the Millennial,
a show where we talk about pop culture,
current events,
and spill the hot Darjeeling
right into your laps, scolding out.
Scolding
That was the wrong way round as
yeah,
well.
but
Never
it's
mind.
we worked it, girl.
It's exciting.
Hi
isn't
everyone,
it?
hello. How are you all doing? So welcome back to another episode of Gag of the Poosh. So
Welcome, my loves.
have you been, Luxeria?
I died.
You died. She died.
It's actually the hottest day of the year so
Yeah.
far today, so
I
we're actually
do-
melting a little bit.
Yeah, I do apologize if you can hear a fan. It's so hot at the moment. Although I'm not going to complain. We've had shit weather this
Yeah, it's been
for
terrible.
the past God knows how long. So it's deliciously hot.
It's
So
marvelous gout.
if you can hear the fan, I do apologize. But anyway, welcome back to a new podcast.
Welcome, everybody.
It's been a little while. So
It
today we would like to delve into our past and talk about some retail horror stories
we have lived
Yeah, that we
through,
have lived.
girls.
The Karens go crazy, bitch.
They do.
They
They
do.
really
They do.
They really do.
So we thought it'd be fun to come on and to give some horror stories, some scary things that have happened, some weird things, unusual, just everything retail. And I'm sure a lot of you listening or watching will completely relate to a lot of the stuff that
yes.
we will speak about today.
Yes, and if you have them, please also comment. I
Yes,
want to read
yes.
yours. It's
Please,
nuts, isn't it?
Please leave your own horror stories down below. Maybe some crazy stories that that happened to you.
Yes.
Gosh, so where do we even start? Okay, so
how many retail jobs have you had? How
So
about we start there?
I had one, but I was in it for 11 years.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it was definitely... So I used to work for a company called Summerfield. So I was with them for a couple years, and then they were bought over by another supermarket company called Morrison's. So I worked in food retail, working in the supermarket. And you did... What did you do?
I did 3. So I worked in BHS, which is now a defunct, it's kind of it wasn't really a department store, but it had homely things and a fashion area and then a Christmas shop kind of things. Very like that. And they also sold shoes. I then worked in a body piercing and body jewelry shop I was about to say the name in Brighton. It's still there. Oh, dox myself, girl.
She's got to dox herself.
Yeah, I did that one. And then most recently, I worked in beauty. I worked in the beauty floor around counters. So
Yes.
I've had 3 different types of retail positions.
Oh, gosh. So, okay, so we're going to go back to 2007. Jesus Christ, I know, a long time ago. So when I turned 16, just after when I turned 16, I started applying for sort of little jobs and things because I was told that I had to work on the weekends. So I didn't actually start until I was 17.
Oh.
So that was a bit funny. But
She was a young woman.
She was a young woman. So I got the job in Summerfield. And to be honest, at the start, it wasn't really too bad. I always want to say, one of my first sort of questions I wanted to ask Luxeria, which is what I'll answer first, is what was the first time when you joined your, at what moment when you started your job were you oh, it's gonna be like this, bitch? So me, it was literally only, I must have said it was 2 weeks of being there. And this woman came in, this is early 2007. Woman came in and she was scanning her stuff. I was scanning her stuff, sorry, and putting it over to her. Halfway through the transaction, she just suddenly shouts at me, "Stop throwing my groceries at me!" And I was like, what?
Oh, you're just
yeah, I was and she was like, "I'm not going to give you money if you keep throwing your groceries at me." And it was that moment I was just okay, this is what people were warning me about, stupid people. You have no idea what the levels of insanity that people are until you work in retail. I always say that everyone should at least some time in their life work in retail.
It should be everyone should be forced to spend a year in retail. Only then do you realize how to actually talk to human beings.
Yeah,
I would
agree.
never behave like any of the stories that we're having today.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
That was the first moment I had in myself where I was oh, it's going to be like this. And then she went and complained to the manager about me. And the manager sort of came over to me afterwards and was what was her problem? I was I have no idea. She was saying that was throwing her stuff against her. I was I literally was just scanning it normally. She's "Stop throwing the things at me."
I do actually also want to interject there and say, when people are well, I want to speak to your manager. It's you do realize we work together. We're likely friends.
Yeah,
she's going to be I'm going to, after we finish this conversation, I'm going to be
Yeah.
she was nuts or he was nuts. And your manager's usually yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah,
I just had to be
thing.
I've come in to save the day.
These people who think that suddenly the manager's going to agree with you and disagree, it's very rare that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes, let's just be fair, sometimes people who work in shops can be cunty.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. The majority of time, you are the problem, and the manager's not going to go, "I'm going to punish him because you've decided to be a Karen."
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was the first moment of what happened. Before we carry on, what was your first moment you were this is what people are like?
Okay, so I don't really know when this was. So because I had a very interesting couple of years when I moved to London, a lot of my memories pre-London are a bit hazy, to say the best, shall we say. I'm going to leave it there. So when I worked in BHS, I was a Christmas temp. I was employed literally to just be like, I need to do something. Because unfortunately my dad at the time was like, no, you have to get a job. And I was like, but I'm in education. He was like, no. Just because, back in the day, everyone was like, I got £5 a year and it was fine. I bought a house. People like that. Anyway, off topic. So I started working. No, I was on the fashion floor first, and that was where it was right next to the Christmas shop, and they had all these like Christmas alcohol gift sets where they'd be like, you buy like a pom pom and it's filled with alcohol for some reason. So
why do they make things like that? I don't understand. But
stupid.
like they make these like huge Christmas chocolate balls that are literally like the size of my head, and it's full of liquid,
and it would be like going off, like it's like gone off before you've even bought it.
Yeah, it was like what?
Awful.
Like why make this tack?
BHS was particularly bad for this. So they had these like
British home stores.
Yes, they had these like giant plastic steins. Now I don't know if you know what a stein is.
No idea.
So in like Germany they have like I think it's like 2.2 liters of beer goes into one stein, and it's like a large casket glass, like you just like drink out of like that, and it's like a stein. This group of like young adults, like I'd end up serving them, and I was like 16 at the time, so I wasn't actually allowed to sell alcohol, and I had to get like somebody else to come over and sell it for me. So I did all that, and they went away. These people went away, and then they came back and they were like, I want to change it. I want to change my alcohol. And I was like, well, I can't do anything because I'm not actually like, I didn't actually serve you. So I'll get the person that did serve them. And she came over and she was like, yeah, what you need to do is take it over to customer services and they'll exchange it for you. They went over to customer services. Customer services asked them for ID. They didn't have ID. Turns out they were under 18 buying this alcohol.
Oh my God.
And we had served them. Not me, because obviously I couldn't serve it, but the person who'd come over and served it. And then, so they took her alcohol away from her and she came over to us and was like, I'm never shopping in BHS again. It's disgusting. I can't believe all this. You've mugged me, girls. And it was a bit like, it was my like 4th day or something. I was just literally like,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you, Luxeria.
What a hateful wig you were wearing at the time as well.
My kitten wig.
Yeah, it was quite the moment, but it was the first time that I was like, oh, everyone's insane. Everyone is insane. Absolutely wild.
I want to talk about a weird story that happened to me. So, this was about 5 years ago. This woman so at this point I was working in London and I was on a self-checkout. So I did the self-scan places. I actually preferred the self-scan.
I feel like hell is a self-service
checkout. I loved working there because I could walk around, I could have the movement. When you're stuck behind one till, you can't avoid people. You have to like talk to people. Like if at least on the self-scan, I could be like, yeah, go there, and don't have to talk to people. Because sometimes people ask you weird questions, which we'll get into. So this woman came over to me. She must have been about, I want to say about 60. I don't know how old. She must have been like late 50s to 60. And she had this like tub of margarine in her hand, and it was Clover. And I was like, can I help you? Because she was like looking at me as if like she was trying to get my attention, but she wasn't saying anything. Because I was like, are you okay? Like, what's the tea, Gail? And she was like, well, we've all struck. No. So she was like, are you aware of the amount of fat in this? And I was just like, what? Because I was confused at what you're saying. It's like, are you aware of the amount of fat in this Clover? And I was just like, no, like I don't really eat that. She's like, well, it's just absolutely not good enough, is it? And I was just like, it's like, what do you mean it's not? It's like, what do you mean it's not good? Yeah, not enough. She's like,
not enough fat.
She was like, it's far too much. It's making everybody sick. I can't believe you would do this. And I was like, what do you mean I would do? I was like, I don't work for Clover, ma'am. I work for Morrison's. We just sell. She's like, well, this is absolutely unacceptable. I want to talk to the manager. I was like,
you can tell that person's never worked in retail because for some reason they think that you're the one in control.
I was
the
one in control. I was like, I don't make the butter, ma'am. Yeah. And so she went on this. She literally went on this huge tirade about how this is so unacceptable that we would sell this butter that's so bad for you. Yeah. And she was like, it's unacceptable. I can't believe we do this. And I quote. You just wait for all the people to have an uprising against you and this Clover. And I was just like, what are you going on about? An uprising against the Clover margarine.
Get a life,
like,
Mary.
I was standing there like, what is happening? Like, I was like waiting for 2 seconds, like camera crew to come out being like, you've been punked, girls. She was literally having this meltdown about
unhinged.
the fat content in margarine. I was like, go and talk to my manager, but she walked off afterwards. I don't know if she actually has contacted him afterwards. And I was like, what the hell is happening? This woman is literally saying there's going to be like an uprising of the people against Clover.
God, I wish people had that bloody motivation when it came to the Tory government.
Honestly,
My
I
God.
was just like, what is happening? Like, what is going on?
In
Like,
just some Morrisons in London.
so I worked in the Southwark stores in Walworth Road.
Where does the energy come from?
I don't-
What,
I
what
honestly-
made her wake up that day and go, today I choose violence against Clover?
Against Clover and Roly, who worked in Morrison's.
Ill. Absolutely ill.
So do you have any like weird stories like
Oh,
that
I've
where
got
like people have gone like
plenty.
said weird shit to you?
Plenty. Another situation that happened at BHS didn't actually happen with a customer. This was my store manager in Brighton. I think he's probably dead by now.
Ooh,
Like, he was an
I
old
killed
man.
him.
But so when I like just started, obviously I was like 16. Actually, I think it was like just turned 17. So I was just like
Ooh.
very young. And I remember like I dyed my hair like blue-black, and that's like, you know, not an outrageous color to have blue-black hair. And I remember I was wearing a top underneath my my shirt because I was like rail thin at the time. And I remember it always being freezing cold in this store. So I was like, we're just wearing it. And my stupid manager above me was just like, you have to go to the donut stand and sell the donuts. And I was like, I don't want to go and sell a donut. Oh. So you had to like go and like invite customers in.
Oh, I
hated
hate doing that. Oh my God.
Hate.
The canvassing
If a
kind
customer
of thing.
wants a donut, they'll come to you and buy a donut.
Yeah.
But so then like I was sitting at the donut stand. My like superstore boss manager man comes along and is like, you think it's acceptable to be wearing that, do you? You think it's acceptable to be wearing that? And I was actually in like a white shirt and I just had like blue-black hair. It was quite short at the time and I was just like relatively like sane. Like I wouldn't look at this person and be like, oh, they're a crime against society. And he literally was just like, do you know, you're disgusting. You're disgusting. You look disgusting. And I remember I turned to him and I was like, I'm not coming back in tomorrow. And that's the day that I quit at BHS. I remember being like so outraged about it. I could feel my like blood boiling. And as like a 16, 17-year-old against like an actual like full-on adult.
A lot of these people who do that kind of stuff is
really quite gross
if you
and sweaty and
if you see what they were probably like in school, they were probably like the shitty runt of the class, whatever. And now that they've got some kind of power, they just kind of go a bit mad and love to attack and abuse other people.
Really, like his position of power, really, like you could see that he like loved to just like bully everybody in.
Yeah.
But I was like, because there was nobody else around it, I didn't really have any recourse. Like there wasn't an assistant with me or anything because I was on my own at the donut stand. And I was just like, I've been called disgusting at the donut stand.
Yeah.
Panic at the disco.
Panic at the
It was
disco.
just like, oh great. So I like left that job.
So
Another horror story I have. Okay, shall I?
can I tell one first? 'Cause
Yeah,
you just
go for
told yours. Yeah.
You picked today?
You picked it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
yeah.
sis.
I'm
Do
not
what you
gagging.
want. Are you gagging? No.
So there was this one time where, obviously, age restrictions have certain items you can't buy. Like video games, alcohol, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There was this one woman who came in with her son. I didn't realize that they were together at the time because the kids were off running around and because the kid came to my till and the mum was doing her shopping. I didn't realize at the time they were separate. And this kid came to my till. He must have been about 9 years old. It must have only been about 9 years old. Yeah. And he was trying to buy a video game that was like 15. And I was like, someone here is trying to dupe me. I was like, this is like a
secret shoppers.
Yeah, because you get secret shoppers all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And so I was like, unfortunately, little man, like you can't get this. Like this is a restricted product. I'm sorry. And then I let him have all of his other stuff. 10 minutes later, I was like serving someone else and I just heard this woman like shouting and I couldn't really work out what was going on because we would see like this is a normal thing. Like you would hear people complaining and moaning about stuff all the time. This woman was like shouting and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And she was like, give me the game. Give me the game. It was for me. He was buying it for me. And I was like, this 9-year-old child is buying you a Nintendo DS game. Like, no, he isn't, sis. And I was like, well, unfortunately, I've refused him this product.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to give it to you because same as you're not, if you were trying to buy alcohol for children, I would not be allowed to serve you. So I was like, unfortunately, today you have ruined this. Making your kid, trying to make your kid buy a game that was a 15, like what are you doing to begin with anyway when he's literally a child? Yeah. And then she was like, it's for me. It was for me. He wasn't buying it for himself. It was for me. For me. And she was getting like really irate. And I was like, what is happening?
Morrison's
like,
does
what
happen,
is happening? And she was like screaming at the top of her lungs at this point. And my manager came down talking to me and I was like, I'd literally just pointed at her and I was just like, can you
go and wrangle this woman?
Deal with this woman. And then she was like, he's such a job's worth. You're a job's worth. What a job's worth. She was literally just going on and on and on. And at this point, I was quite smarmy. I was like, because when you get people that angry, I'm like, I literally don't care what you call me. Like, you are irrelevant to me. This went on for about 20 minutes. And then my manager was like, Ray, do you want to just go upstairs for a bit? And I just went upstairs and she was like, I need your name. I'm going to complain to the regional managers as a HR. And she was like, oh, what is your name? And I went, this is naughty. I shouldn't have done this. But I was like, I'm going to dead name myself. I was like, my name is Roland, Roland. And then walked off. And she was like, Shopworth, he's such...
What an irate piece of crap.
But it didn't finish then. So basically what happened was about maybe a month later, maybe it was like closer to a month later, the same manager came up to us, like we were upstairs in the manager's office. He brought out this note, like an email that she had sent in that was literally like 3 pages long. And he sat there and read, and this was sent to like the HR people right at the top, and they had contacted my store to be like, we've had this complaint. And then my manager was like, she was a loony girl.
Yeah.
And so this is what I mean about managers not actually listening to what you say.
Yeah.
He read me this entire email, which was like, he was horrific. He was so rude to me. He was blah, 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 blah. Or went on and on about how I was this awful employee. And he laughed and then picked up the note and just ripped it in half. I was like, what a crazy bitch. And then we walked, and like people like, please, if anyone's watching this and you have any of these episodes, the managers do not care.
Yeah.
Like, they are not on your side.
Yeah.
Why are you getting so irate about this video game? Just go somewhere else. Like, we live in a city. There is 20 other shops in the high street that will literally sell you the same game.
Yeah. No,
also,
no.
why are you making literally like a 9-year-old child buy a game that's rated 15?
But also, games aren't cheap, so like...
Yeah, it's like... So,
give your 9-year-old child this £35 game, £40 game. That's all... Oh, that's stupid.
I had someone hit me once in Morrison's in London.
Oh my God!
So when in 2000...
Are you okay?
Yeah, that's where mummy's wig.
Yeah.
Yeah, daddy's toupee.
Oh.
Granny's colostomy bag. So we were, this
Vintage.
was, I think it was 2016. It was just after the bag thing. So we now have to pay for bags.
The bag thing. Oh my God.
I
the
have never
loony
in my
bins.
life seen people act so insane as to when we had to pay 5 pence for a bag. So basically, to try to save the planet and all that stuff, they banned plastic bags for free. So you had to buy them, which I
stop people from gathering them underneath the stairs.
Honestly, working on the self-checkout, the amount of people that would just take wads of bags, they would come and like, just take an entire wad. I had to run after them and be like, no, ma'am. But there was this one woman who was like taking extra bags. Now I went up to her and I was like, it's literally been about a year at this point when we've been buying them. Like, you know that you got to buy them. And I was like, I'm sorry, but you got to like buy this. You cannot just take them.
Yeah.
And she was like, it's ripped. It's ripped. My bag was a ripped, girl. She didn't obviously say girl.
She said it. Yeah, exactly like
and
that.
I was like, I'm sorry. Like, if you've ripped it yourself, that's also your problem. But you need to pay for another bag.
Yeah.
I apologize. And she was like, it's ripped. It's ripped. You do not get to make me do it. It's ripped. And so at this point, I was like, is it though? So I was just like, leaning around her. I was like trying to look at her bag. And she was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I was like, I'm just checking to make sure your bag's ripped. You said it's ripped. And she was like, it's ripped. Yeah, how dare you accuse me of lying? It's ripped.
Oh my
And I was like,
God.
first of all, this is
energy.
so much energy for 5p bags. Like, just give me 5p. Like, just pay. Plus, there's literally a box there where you put 5p's in. Just fucking put. Anyway, but and people who might be like, oh, why do you just let her get away with it? It's like, but that I will get in trouble.
Yeah,
like if I'm seen, like I will get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
She wasn't taking like just one extra one. It was like she was trying to take a wad. Like she was like taking up loads and loads of bags. And I was like, I'm gonna tell my manager, like, you are stealing bags. And I have never seen someone go this insane in my life. So at this point, I was getting too wound up. I was getting wound up because she was being so aggressive, and I had to walk away. She followed me, literally screaming at me, where's your fucking manager? How dare you speak to me like this? I'm a fucking customer.
Oh my
God. The customer's always right. Blah, how dare you?
Well.
And at this point, I got a basket. I was like, because the reason I noticed her was because I was moving the baskets from the top to the bottom so I could like restack them in where the entrance was. So I was holding these baskets and I was holding them in between us because she was trying to get in my face. And then she started speaking a language I don't know what she was saying, but I'm assuming she was cursing me out. Like I don't know where she was from.
She wouldn't have been like, what a lovely barnyard.
Yeah, so she was like shouting in like a different language. And then she literally leant over and like whacked me across the nose. And at that point, I fucking lost it. I was like, do not fucking touch my face. And obviously, I'm still very professional. So I just turned round. I threw the baskets down on the floor. And at this point, I think she was like, shit. Because I actually snapped.
Yeah.
And I was like, she fucking touched my face. And I was so angry at this point. My manager came over to me. She was like, you need to go over there. And I was like, I know. and I started like crying because you know when you get so angry that like I just started crying.
The emotions just burst.
Yeah, because obviously I can't do anything about it. Like that's the only thing you can do that kind of gets the.
To be honest, though, I'm actually like quite commendable to you that you actually managed to keep composure there, because I don't think if someone had touched my face, like that's one of the most important things on my body, bitch. So she'd be dead.
I was just like, oh my God, she did not do that. So I went back into the manager's office. And was explaining, because obviously he wasn't there at the time, obviously. But I would say our managers were actually quite cool. They were really nice, actually. He took me in the room, and I just explained to him what happened. And he was just like gobsmacked just what was going on. And he was like, I'm sorry. I made like a report. We told the police and stuff. I don't think anything really came about it because they couldn't, like, it's hard to, in London, how the fuck are you going to find anyone who does anything like that? Yeah. Especially because like we have so many people cycling in and out. Like it was just, not doing anything really happened about it. But the one thing that made it worse, which is what I was livid about, is the security guard watched it all happen and did nothing.
Oh, what's the point of you if you do
When it was happening, I looked at him and I said, what the hell are you doing? Why are you allowing this to happen? Why are you are, because where the self-scan was, it was like quite a narrow passageway and he was literally standing at the end watching me as she was in my face, screaming top of the, and he was just like there, like too scared to do anything. I was like, why the I was like, what are you doing? I was like, what are you doing? Like, protect me. Like, your job is to stop shit like this from happening.
Yes,
and And so he got fired.
Good.
Weirdly, he came back and worked for us, so he became like a shelf stacker like years later, but it was just unacceptable. I was like, that's absolutely insanity. Like, Karen to the max, over 5p bags. And this is
do you know, during that story, I forgot it's about 5p bags. 5p bags. 5p, girls.
Yeah.
That's it.
And again, I want to reiterate, I know it sounds crazy, the fact that I was making an issue, but like, I would actually get in trouble.
You would get in trouble for it.
We were, when it first happened, the people were like, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to be really strict with this. Like,
because the thing is, it wasn't a store policy.
It was
like a
law.
Government law.
Yeah, it was like a real law.
So it wasn't like you could just be like, manager's discretion or whatever.
Yeah.
No, it's actually a law. Going along from, you know, nutty ladies on the game that are in the vicinity of us, the next job that I went and found that I worked at was obviously at the body piercing and body jewelry shop. Very interesting people come into body jewelry shops. It was a bit of a myth. We get like a mix of customers because we had some like semi-precious jewels and we had some like kind of more pricier silver items. Like we did some like thick neck chains that went up to like £800, like actual silver. Yeah. And then we did like belly rings, nose rings, get you 5 for a pound earrings,
tooth piercings,
tooth girls, and like fairy dust. Hippies, come and buy your fairy dust. It's just glitter in a tub.
It's actually cocaine.
Yeah. We were dealers.
Dealers. That's why she didn't want to name the studio because it was
£40 a weekend. Yeah. No.
And a bottle of Ket.
Yes, exactly. A bottle of Ket, yes.
I don't know what Ket comes like.
Oh, I'm not going to share. Basically, we would attract like a good range of people. We also did some like quite gorgeous like gothy style rings. Not quite as fabulous as the Great Frog ones, but similar sort of vein. So this guy came in with his friend. He must have been about, I would probably guess maybe like 45 to 50. He was quite big, quite like stocky, quite like beer belly situation. He was a biker, so he had like like those leather jackets that don't like come down the arms. They're just like a leather vest almost, covered in patches, spikes everywhere. He looked a bit like kind of grimy, a bit grubby. Looked like he'd been out for the weekend or whatever, out the night before. Just came in and was just like looking around. He was like, "Can I try on that necklace?" I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah. Let me get the keys." And then like,
Saki.
Try it on. And he was like, "Oh, don't like it. You got any rings? Go and have a little look at the ring. What size of your finger? It's like this one." And then just
this is a very in-depth description.
After all of this, I literally put all the like rings back, and he's like, "Can you tell me what size this is?" And he just flops his dick out on the desk, and it's a Prince Albert piercing. Me being 17 at the time, I wasn't allowed to deal with anything like that, and my manager was actually next to me.
Isn't that physically illegal what he's just
Yes, because it's exposing yourself to a stranger. Just because I work in a body jewelry shop does not mean I'm like, "Show me your willy, girls, I want to see what size it is." I was like, and my manager was like, "Sir, that's unacceptable." And he was like, this guy was like, "What, ain't you seen a dick before? Like, you sell stuff like this, don't you?" And it's like, clearly, we were just like, "No, actually, that's quite unacceptable for you to be doing that." So he was asked to leave. My manager was like 29 at the time, and he was like really thin and really tall and actually quite like petite. So of course this massive biker guy did not care. He was like, "No, I want to buy my things." And eventually he left, but I was just left. I literally had to like go and have a moment, and I was a bit like, that could have gotten really quite a lot, actually. Because he was like, this biker guy must have been like 6'5", 6'4", like huge guy that clearly had like a rough night, girls. like in with his friend. His friend had left at that point. It
I
was
couldn't
just a bit
imagine the
weird.
audacity because I remember you
That's it, the audacity.
I remember you telling this a long time ago. Like I don't understand what goes through someone's head where they're like, this is appropriate.
No, never. Could you imagine ever getting out your like genitals just in public just to be like, look at this?
Well, I mean, the England crowd did.
Oh, walnut whip dick.
If anyone, the UEFA Cup just happened, and the amount of people that were like streaking, shoving like fireworks up their asshole, and like,
are you wearing the red flare up
are you
your
wearing?
ass?
Yeah, are you wearing the red flare up your ass? It's disgusting, and they say that kink at Pride's disgusting. Yet they're okay.
Why do straight men think everybody wants to see their penis?
I have no idea.
It's so weird. They are in love with penises.
Yeah,
they are obsessed with their
bunch
penis.
of faggots.
Yeah, disgusting. Straggots. Disgusting.
So this is a bit of a sad story, right? But also, like, I didn't really know how to react at the time. This is back when I was in Morrison's in Devon still. There was this man who came in, and I saw him quite often. And this one time he came to my till, and I was like, hiya, obviously.
Yeah.
Hiya,
how's it going, babe?
I was like the normal, hi, how you going? What's the tea? And he just like, just looks at me and was like, oh yeah, I'm not too good. I'm dying next week. And I was like, what? I was like, what do you? I was like, it's like, yeah, I've just been diagnosed terminally ill, and they've given me a week to live. And I was just like,
thanks, you've ruined my day.
That's £10.50, please. I didn't know what to say to this. And he was like, yeah, it's all right though, I've had a good life. And I was just like, I can't tell if he's trolling me or like if this is real, because he looked genuinely sort of like sad. And I get that it's horrific and it's really sad that he was going through this, but I was just like, I don't really know what to say or do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but
I mean, he must have been experiencing some level of shock as well. But
Yeah.
like, it's very strange. That's a
just,
strange
like,
way.
to put on just like a random strange that you don't, I don't know, it just seemed a bit weird. I was like,
I must admit, though, there is one of these things where it's like, if you're in like the service industry and like attending to people, as I've sort of imagine more on a self-checkout, you are sort of like more like approaching people and going like, is it all right? Like whatever it is, like there's this weird like barrier, this like veil of mystery of the stranger that happens where like people will just confess things to you. And they're just like, I'm going to tell you this thing and I probably won't see you again. And it's just like offload this incredibly deeply personal thing. And you're like, actually, I'm not a therapist. I'm not okay with that, lady.
There was this, I remember you talking about
I've literally got one to say.
There was this, I remember there was this woman who was talking to someone on her phone, literally right in front of me. She wasn't literally directed to me, but it was like, obviously, like, just, she didn't really give a shit. She was on the phone talking about how she was going to set her dogs on this man who, like, she didn't like anymore, who she wanted to stop coming around her house because, like, they had a falling out or something. And I was like, you're literally in the middle of the supermarket talking to
about
me,
a crime.
talking about getting your dogs to rip this man apart. Like, not even like, oh, if he comes, the dogs, she was like, I'm going to go find him. I'm going to take my dogs and rip him apart. Like, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you telling me this? There was one woman as well who was literally on the phone, same thing, saying, I've just divorced him. She was like sobbing in front of me, going, I'm divorcing him. I'm sick of the way he's treated me. And I was like, you're in the middle of a supermarket,
like,
man.
Please, can you just buy this and leave?
Like, I
Have a
get
breakdown
that,
in the car park like
that
everybody
sad things
else.
are happening, but like, you're literally, I'm serving you, like, this is not an appropriate place for you to be like screaming down the phone, crying off your eyes out because you're having a divorce. Like, I get that people's trauma and stuff, but like I don't know how to react.
It's not funny. It's just that, like, you could just be like, just thinking like, oh, I've got to put the cheese on offer. And then it's just like, oh, a divorce.
Yeah,
like,
it was
so bizarre what you'll do when you work in retail. Very recently, before the Panini hit, I worked in a very, very famous makeup brand, and I worked on a counter for them.
Jeffree Star Cosmetics.
Yeah, can you imagine? Gag. I think this happened on a Thursday morning. It was relatively like empty. It was really like quiet in the morning, and this lady came in, and I'm going to call her Kathy. So Kathy came in and she was like, I saw her looking at the foundations and I was just a bit like, oh. So we have a rule where I used to work where it's like you have to greet someone in 4 seconds. You see them, you smile, you greet them. It was like this thing. And you have to immediately like beeline for them and be like, hello, how can I help? Kind of like really give like a personalized experience. I approached her and I was like, hello, my name is Lux. I see you're looking at foundations today. Is there anything that you need any help with? Like, have you ever shopped here before? Kind of thing. She looked really solemn and she looked at me and she was like, no, I'm just looking for some nice makeup, but I think you can help me. I really like your makeup. And I was like, oh, well, what's your name?
Wonderful.
She was like, Kathy, lovely. I was like, oh, Kathy, take a seat. We'll have a little talk about like what it is you want to achieve with your look.
Yeah.
And like, she was like, oh, I just want to try a new foundation. So I went and I grabbed 3 foundations to try a little swatch on the neck. As I'm swatching her on the neck, she goes, thank you for doing this. I've just had a miscarriage.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh,
She must have clearly been in shock. I think she must have been.
She was in like, I think, so she was very religious and she was in like a really like confused moment. So I just sort of like stopped and I looked at her and I was like, thank you so much for sharing that with me today. I really hope that what we can do today will actually help in some way bring some glam to you, because I
Yeah.
really honestly feel like if you look nice, you feel a bit better about things that are happening in your life that you can't control. And she just, in her demeanor instantly changed, and she seemed a bit more like happy about the whole thing. And she was just like, "Oh, okay, if you think you can recommend me things, like, we'll do it." And I ended up like pulling all these products out, and I was just a bit like, right, we'll try and do like a nice little look, do some nice little lashes, nice little eyeliner, and a nice little lipstick, a bit of skincare. And she seemed really happy with what we created at the end. I spent probably about an hour with her, which is unheard of. Like, you in this sort of an environment, it's like 20 minutes, demonstrate everything, sell your products, go. She left the floor, she left the building or whatever. And I just sort of like went in and sat next to my manager and was like, I actually need a second to just like talk about what I've just been like through. And I like shared the story, and she was like fully gagged about it. 2 weeks later, we get an email. We get an email from head office. Head office is like, is there a Luxeria working at this counter in this store? My manager was like, yes, of course, yes. And they sent her this email. She got in contact with, she'd gone onto the website, typed into the live chat function, like how I'd helped her and stuff, and sent this beautiful like page email being like, I can't believe this woman Luxeria, God sent her to really like show me the way, make sure that everything was good and glamorous in the world. And like,
that's nice.
I felt so happy to have seen her, and she is a gold star. If you give her a promotion, give her a pay rise, all these things. And I was just a bit like, I don't like come out to people very often when I'm like trans and stuff, but because she was like deeply Christian, I was a bit like, is this going to be a problem or something? Like, I get a hateful email being like, how dare that she-male self me? Do you know what I mean? Like, people can be a bit like that. So I was a bit like gagged, and I was just kind of like, what a lovely, weird, like I've always, and I remember my manager being like, we've never gotten an email about anyone working here. Put a wig on and call me Sandra.
Yeah. Have you ever had anyone like go like over like ballistic in shop? Because I remember there was this one woman, I don't know like the actual build up to this, but she was caught stealing. I mean, there was something happened.
Thieves are so theatrical.
She was caught stealing
front stage,
and she had like stuff all in her back, like in her jackets and things, and like the security guard, a different one, had like stopped her and like was like, you have to stop what you're doing. And she went on this huge tirade about how it's awful that we're accusing her of stealing. Like, you're literally, we can see it. So we eventually got all the stuff off her, but she started going like absolutely crazy at the security man because we were trying to call the police. She was like, she picked up like a wad of baskets and was like just throwing them along the floor everywhere, pushing like all the magazines off the shelf. And obviously the security guard was trying to like stop her from doing it. She then broke from him, ran to like with the self-checkouts, knocked over loads of the displays, knocking things off, smashing bottles of wine. And at this point, so we're trained, if this kind of stuff happens, you have to just let them do it. You can't get involved. You have to just, when it gets to that, when it's that intense, because we would then be liable, like for like, because we're technically not allowed to like do anything. We're not the police. So I can't stop.
Also,
her.
these massive shops have insurance. Covered insurance.
So she was just going absolutely ballistic, smashing. We must have lost a good few £1,000s worth of merchandise because she was smashing like bottles of wine and stuff. But this went on for ages. The police then came to take her away. But it was like, I don't know why, like, you think that's better than just giving over the items you've stolen?
Well, it's almost like the theatrics of it all.
Yeah,
like if you create a massive distraction and chaos, you can probably just like escape, maybe. I don't know.
Because I think sometimes when you hear these stories, like people instantly be like, oh, they're mentally unwell. It's actually really offensive to people who genuinely are mentally unwell. It's like, not every single person who does this kind of stuff.
Sometimes people are just a cunt.
Some people are just fucking awful people. Like, I think it's a weird thing to think that anyone who's doing bad things has some sort of like illness. Some people are just fucking horrible. And I feel like, why did this woman do this for no reason? Like, you could have just been like, okay, here you go. But instead, you're now going to prison because you've
made the whole thing so much worse
for
yourself.
I don't understand. Like, I don't understand what you were doing. My heart goes out to any retail worker having to work through the pandemic when people have been fucking disgusting, especially like the anti-maskers, the amount of like Karen videos that went around, the amount of like all this kind of stuff of like these awful people like screaming at retail workers just because like they don't want to wear a mask. Like, it's just...
And I don't know what this thing is as well. It's the same sort of thing is these people think that you're somehow in control. Like, retail workers are the bottom of the rung of the corporation. They don't control prices. They don't control layouts. They don't control anything.
Contents in clover butter.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know about the bloody clover girls. And it's just like, why they get the brunt of everything and they're also paid the least. And it's just like, now, isn't it funny how like when the panini happened, nearly every retail worker in like the food areas was like, oh, essential. You're an essential person. We have to have you working through this whole situation. It's like, well, why didn't you pay them like they're essential then?
Yeah.
No.
Awful.
Oh, awful. Really awful situation.
I just couldn't imagine having to work through this
all of that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the tone down a little bit and just say, if you've ever worked in makeup and makeup counters, aren't the boys, the bumbling boys that you see, the bumbling men that are like, I don't know what my wife wants. They are so hot.
No,
some of these like bumbling men that come in, they're just like, lipstick. She likes lipstick. I'm like, we have 706 shades. What does she like? Does she wear pink? A lipstick. I'm like, well, do you want to try it on? And we see what it looks like. And they're always like, yeah, I'll wear makeup. But then as soon as you're like, would you like me to like get it ready? And you can. This little twinkle in their eye happens, and they're like, maybe today is the day I'll put a lipstick on.
Maybe today I'll be the sissy.
Maybe today I'll experiment in the shopping centre.
Yeah.
And it's
the thing is, they're acting like they've never done it at home.
Oh, they love it.
They
Lots
love
of the
it.
men are like,
love it.
But like, I don't know, just some of these like, there's something really like enigmatic about like a really helpless man. Not a man being like a laddie, but a man actually being like, I really need help because I don't understand any of this. And I'm just like, you've come to mummy's web and I'm going to eat you.
She's a black widow girl eating them air after they mate.
Yeah, talking about this, I will always remember this one guy. It was at the beginning of the panini. Now, he was so gorgeous, but no brain. Absolutely no brain. He came in with a buggy and like, it was like one of those duo buggies where they have like twins in them and the twins were screaming and making all this noise and we were a bit like, oh, can you just like get out of the counter? It's all very chaotic and it's a panini. Bit Octomum, but only 2. So not Octomum at all.
Very Octomum, but only 2.
It's hot girl days.
Duo mum.
It's a hot day, girls, even.
It's
Duo mum. Duo lingo girl.
Yay.
The owls on crack. None of the family was wearing a mask. They were all like, it's not real. But it was just like, so we were serving like lipstick to the mum. And like the guy looks at me and he's just like, it's not real, is it? I don't believe in all this stuff. It's all a hoax, innit? Yeah. I was like fully in a mask, just like, well, actually, like the person that's just about to serve you, her dad just passed away of it. And I was a bit like, please don't mention it, like protecting my coworker. And he was like, oh, I don't think it's real. No, he must have just been ill. I tried to be like super professional, but also be like, are you for real? Like, okay, you don't have to believe it, but don't approach strangers in a shop that are clearly like forced to work in it and be like, it's fake, girl. You're not really like. Do you want me to come up to you and cough in your mouth? Like,
please
what do you want me to do?
Maybe we're into it.
There was this one where it's like this father came in and he had like 3 sons with him and they were shopping for their mum at Christmas and they literally just like came in and like walked right up to me and I was a bit like, this is the end of my life, girls. I'm gonna get taken here. And I was just a bit like, what's happening? And they were all like flirtily looking at me and like talking like as I was talking to them about like makeup and stuff. And I was trying to joke.
You are a gorgeous woman.
I was fully like, I don't know what's happening right now, but like there's something about men that just inherently makes me go like, I'm gonna die. And I don't know what it is. I'm just like, please stop talking. Like, look at me. Yeah, send me a DM first and then arrange like a date somewhere. Don't
and then take me in the back shed.
Well, no, not take me in the bike shed. Oh, no, what is this? The 60s?
Yeah, it is. You're not.
I've only just bloody realised. I looked at this earlier and I was like, that looks like my merch. What is this? When did this happen?
I cannot believe it has taken you. It has taken you an hour to notice that I am wearing your merchandise.
What? Oh, it looks so good.
So
I was going to wear mine, but I'm not.
So unfortunately, people on SoundCloud, you won't be able to see, but I'm wearing Luxeria's merchandise. It's a scandal, girls. And I put it on in the bathroom and I walked in the bedroom. She literally looked at me directly and I was waiting for her to be like, oh, go wear my t-shirt. And she didn't say anything. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to sit here and just wait. We have been filming for an hour and it's taken her an hour to notice that I'm wearing her t-shirt.
It's gorgeous.
Scandal, girls.
It's a scandal, girls. I
So
love it. I really love it.
Her big face, and it's a scandal.
Big
Her big gaping
big
face.
dysmorphic face. I don't have any of his merch.
No, you don't.
I will be getting some soon.
Triggered.
Hello.
BBTV.
Yeah. Big breasted.
Yeah. Big-breasted transvestite. That's exactly what I meant.
Well, thank you so much for that. That's brilliant.
You're welcome.
God, I've lost my train of thought. What I was going to talk about. What was I going to talk about? Talking about big-breasted transvestites. So, on one of the last times before I left where I previously worked, this happened earlier this year when I was on the floor of the counter. It was just after like all the lockdowns kind of like relieved, and we were. It must have been just before Christmas then, because we went on like a really long one. So this lady comes in with her child and it's just like, can you tell me what this is? Can you tell me what this is? And it was just like a bronzer on her face. And she was, I don't know why people do this. They literally go, what colour's this? And I'm like, it's a red lipstick. We've got 90 of them. What shade? Like, I don't know.
It's called
Bloods. Bloods, gowns.
Bloods, yeah.
Gowns.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, what are you talking about? So I was like, okay, well, I'll go over and show you the bronzers. So I was just like, okay, does your product look like this? She was like, it's from you. I bought it from you guys. It's from you. So I was like, okay, well, did you look like this? Do you look like this? Do you look like this? And she was like, no, it's none of that. And then like she went quiet and I was like getting the rest out. And she just looked at me and she went, are you a bloke?
Oh my God.
And I was like, fully
That person
gagged.
wanted to fight. Like that, yeah.
I looked stunning that day, but I had done something different with my hair, and you will now catch me never doing that hairstyle again. But I looked at her and I was like, no, I'm actually not. And she was like, oh, it's just because you sound like a bloke, but you got the curves of a woman. And I was like,
the audacity of some people to think they could just like,
she had
talk to you like
who was
that.
like next to her going like beady-eyed staring at me, and I was just a bit like, and then she sort of like, I think she clocked on how awkward she'd made the situation. She was like, I'm gonna check somewhere else, and then she just left. And there was only one other girl on the counter at the time, and I was just like, I don't think she even heard, and I just was like, I'm gonna have to take a break for a second. I just went and sat down. And I was like, because I was having such a good day up until that point, and it just like snipes in and smacks you like a brick sometimes. And it's just like, well, that's great. Thank you so much. Like, nice of her, I guess, to say I had curves like a woman, I guess. But like, my voice is one of the things that really does cause me quite a lot of distress, because I've believe it or not, I've had 3 years of vocal training to get this voice from what I started with. So it's like, I'm stuck with this for life, basically, unless I get quite sort of like dangerous surgery, which is maybe on my list. I don't know. Yeah. After that, I was like, yes, every penny goes towards that, girls. But it's just like, she didn't have to do any of that. She could have literally just left, gone about her day, and not had to worry about it. The thing is,
people like that are intentionally going out to provoke.
To do that.
Like, you don't do that on a whim. Like, that's not something you accidentally. It's like, that is, I want to antagonize someone.
Yeah.
That's not something you do to someone unless you want a reaction or you're trying to piss someone off.
I cannot imagine going into a makeup shop, asking about bronzers, and then like asking the person serving me about their like personal medical history and genitals or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
well, so genital, like the amount of customers who have said to me like, do you have your dick pierced? Do you have any downstairs pierced?
Like,
and I was like, I literally got to a stage where I was just like, what's your vagina like?
Good.
And then, because the thing is, at this point, when I worked in London, you could literally do whatever you wanted. It was very much, because when I lived in Devon, take out all of your piercings. You can't have anything. But when I was in London, I basically was a bit like to the managers. I was like, just so you know, I am going to be looking like this. Like, we're in London. Like, this isn't a small town. But of course, then you open yourself up to the people who like, what's the downstairs? I got it downstairs. But because I know what the managers were like, you could kind of clap back a little bit at customers and not really get in trouble, because the managers were like, we know what people are like here. Like, you know. So like half the time, if people would say to me, if you've got any downstairs piercings, it would be like, so what's your vagina like?
Good.
Because it's like, well, you just asked me about my penis. Like,
the thing I don't like this, so I hate, you know, the phrase "the customer is always right." That's not actually from like, the biggest, I am a single customer and I'm always right. That's not what it is.
The biggest cunt in the world made up that saying.
But it's not. Well, it was actually Mr. Selfridge who owns Selfridges, and he said the customer is always right because of their buying patterns. If they're all buying a product, buy that product in stock to sell more of it, because the customer is right about what they want to buy. It's not one Karen comes into a bar and says, I'm right, give me all your money, girls. Like, it's just ludicrous. So the idea that these customers are like that. But also there is something dehumanizing about working in retail. I mean, there's something dehumanizing about being an alternative lifestyle person anyway. Because people, like the average person, I mean, maybe now it's a bit different because people are a lot more like awake to the struggles of other people.
Before they were sleeping.
Before they were just deeply in a coma. They wouldn't see you as human, so they'd ask you about all sorts, because they didn't see you as human because you weren't like them. They had no problem asking you about anything on your body, because they almost saw you like a pet, being like, oh, so what's your genitals like?
Do you know one question that I hated more than genitals is, what do your parents think?
Oh, that stupid question.
Like, why? The thing is, I used to be like, they're dead.
Yeah.
My dad is dead, and I don't have any contact with my mum. But I would always be like, they're dead, and their face would just instantly change. Like,
Good.
because I can talk about it and not be sad, it's fine. But like, so I know to a lot of people, like that
The
would probably
idea of
be
dead
quite.
parents is quite a
Yeah,
lot.
and
yeah.
like that would be horrific.
some
Like that,
reality.
yeah, and to think that you would just ask someone about their like family life, like it's just like unacceptable. Like you have no idea what someone's gone through.
It's because they think that everyone thinks like them.
Yeah.
Only humans,
Yeah.
the only other people that are human are exactly like them.
Yeah.
Incorrect, girls.
Yeah.
And there is something about working in retail as well. That's another layer of like, you're not human, I'm going to treat you as what I want. So I think people in hospitality can feel the same way about this. Like if you're a waiter or a waitress or something, you get treated like you are there as like, you're the one little bit of like Keith and Aggie's and Karen's like weekly night out or whatever to a restaurant. They get to treat you like shit because they've got no
Yeah.
power in their own life.
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of people who are shitty to retail workers is because, yeah, in their everyday life, they are like almost like the lowest of the ladder.
Yeah.
And so when they go to a place like this, it's the only place that they can
get to
feel
be
like
"Ah,
yeah, it's the
me!"
only place that they have power.
Yeah.
That's like over their children or something. Like so they're able to talk to you like shit.
It's on a similar vein, isn't it funny how like CEOs usually go to dominatrix and go, take all my power away and ruin me, girls?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
They're all the ones
Power
that are caged
dynamic.
up and
Yeah,
do dumps.
caged sissy.
Like a
Caged me
cage.
like a caged sissy.
Yeah, I did meet a lot of really nice people throughout my times working in there. Because there was this one family, and they came in and it was a husband and wife, and he came in with his 2 children, and one of the children was wearing a dress. As they came towards me, I was like, oh, like.
Trans child.
It was like, is that a trans? And obviously, it's awful to say this, but like, I was like, oh. So I served them. They went and stuff, and I didn't want to bring anything to this. I was like, oh, I wasn't too sure like how to bridge the situation because I don't know. Because like, the thing is, you could see people around them making an issue about it, of being like weird. And even someone I worked with was like, oh, have you seen? And I was like, have I seen what? Because this is why I was like, oh, this is the situation.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they came in a few more times, and I was like, hi, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And at this point, they'd seen me a few times. They could quite clearly see that I'm a raging homosexual. Although when I was at work, I was professional mode. I was still faggy. Hello, girls.
What's the tea, girls?
So it wasn't even me that brought the situation up. We were talking about my YouTube because he was like, what do you do? I was like, I do LGBT stuff on the internet. I do things about being gender non-conforming and all that kind of stuff. Then he just said to me, oh, you may have been able to tell my son is experimenting. And he must have only been about... I want to say about 7.
Yeah.
Very, very
Do you know,
young.
weird in my head, I was going to say you're going to say 7.
Oh.
Psychic women on the game!
And so he was telling me about his son and how they don't ever, like, he seemed to just have this attraction to female clothing and all this stuff. And I said to him at this point, I was like, well, I actually identify as non-binary, like, and all this kind of stuff. We had like a nice discussion about it. And then he told me that he was a vicar. And I was just like,
Bit spooked.
I was like, oh.
Usually
like,
that doesn't work.
You're a religious man, you're a vicar yourself, and you're really happy with your son. The reason I say son is because he was calling son, and we don't know, so I don't know, like, I don't know what the pronouns were either, so I'm going by what the father told me. So I thought it was really interesting, and I saw them over time, and I became like not friendly with the kid, obviously, but like every time I'd see them, I'd be like, "How you doing? Like, it's so nice to see you." Because the thing is, because of how other people were reacting, I wanted the child to see like not every single person gives a shit. Like you do whatever the fuck you want.
It's so easy to say it, but you actually have to do it. It's be the change you want to see in the world.
And I would always like compliment their hats because there was one time they came and they had like a nice pink bow in their head, and I was like, your bow is adorable. I love you. You look so cute. I think the parents really liked
appreciated
that. And then as I was leaving as well, they were buying like bottles of champagne, and I didn't really understand. I was like, oh, this obviously they're getting ready for Christmas, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then as they were leaving, the husband just picked up, was like, here you go, gave me this big bottle of champagne. Was like, this is for you for being so wonderful. And I was just so I gave him like a really big hug, just appreciative that I was just so nice to the family and stuff. But thing is, it actually upset me a little bit. Like that was the reaction. Like, thank you for being nice to my family.
Oh, I know.
Like,
it's appalling, really, when you think about it, isn't it?
Like, it was so, because obviously I can't ever talk, you know, obviously I can't really talk about this, but like, I don't know what it's like to feel like I'm trans at such a young age as a child. Like, I'm sure the kid didn't really understand what that meant, but just to have that kind of battle
someone
with,
in your corner,
to be like battle for you, but also to know that like so much of the world is against you, especially that young, because they think you're just being like, oh, you're trying to trans up the child and all this kind of stuff. I was like, it actually really upset me to think that was his response to
that it had to go that far because nobody else was doing that.
Me were just being nice and welcoming the child and not making any issue of it whatsoever. Like, and making the child like actually happy.
Let us know some of your tales from retail in the horror department.
So have you had other anti-masker people? Because obviously you did work through the pandemic.
Yeah. I've had plenty of them. there was so it's not even just the anti-masker people. Some people were just so convinced that like it wasn't an issue. So when the panini first struck, about a month into it, so the place that I worked at, the last place that I worked at with the makeup counter, we'd stopped all like contact services. All services. Yes. I couldn't put makeup on anyone. I had to basically, at first we couldn't open any products there was no testers. So we couldn't show anyone anything. We'd just be like, it was basically just a showroom to come and restock what you've already bought kind of thing. There was this one woman that came in and was like, you got any appointments to do bridal makeup? Like I'm getting married in a few hours. And we were like,
hours?
I was like, A, where are you getting married, sis? Like what's happening? B, look around you. Like what world are you in? She wasn't wearing a mask. She just came in and she was like, and we had to like be like, no, we're not doing any contact services because of the pandemic. And she was like, what? Why? And I was like, because what? Lady, stop and have a little think. Why? She started to get really irate and was like, but I'm getting married. I was like, well, it's nothing to do with us. Like,
oh, good for you.
Booked your marriage. Yeah. Like, what you do? Like, I'm not putting my life at risk because you're like, do this for me now.
It's
but she left in such a huff.
It's scary, actually. So many people have literally lived the past like couple years as if like nothing has happened.
It's weird.
They're still going on holiday. They're still doing all stuff. And it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Do you have any like embarrassing stories?
Embarrassed? Oh, yes.
Like what you've done something wrong, something happened. Because I accidentally told someone in a wheelchair that it's okay that okay, so let me rephrase this.
Oh dear.
So I had this man come in. This is like very early on in my like retail career. And he was in a wheelchair and I was helping him get out shopping. And it was really cold. It was really, really cold. And so
oh no, this is gonna be a should you be laughing at this?
I was mortified. So I was only about I must have been like 17 or 18. It was
a dizzy blonde.
It was right at the start of when I was working in retail, and it was freezing cold. So I was running around getting all of his stuff. And obviously we're trained to do it fast as you possibly can, so you can help the next person who needs help. Blah blah blah. I just listened. He was like kind of following me behind, but I was like just kind of picking up everything and being quick as I can because obviously I don't want to take up his time as well. So it was so cold that day. It was really cold. He said to me, he goes, "Oh, it's actually quite cold. I'm kind of cold here." And I said to him, just not even thinking for no second, I was like, but you're right though. You can sit down, have a blanket wrapped around you while I'm running around sweating my ass off. And I just said it. I don't know what made me say it. And I was just like, I've just said to someone who's in a wheelchair, I'm running around, it's okay because you can sit down. And I was just like, fucking hell.
Oh,
like,
it's awful when your brain has that gout
It was
moment.
moments like that when I was like, wow. And again, this was 16 years old. Don't nearly 16 years ago. But
no,
I was just like, fucking hell. And like, he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything to me. And I don't know whether he just didn't hear me, but there was like no reaction. There was no kind of thing. And I was like, oh, maybe he didn't hear me. The floor needs to eat me.
Yeah.
The floor needs to eat me.
Oh yeah, there was one lady that came in that I was applying contour to. And she had a very distinctive nose, shall we say. Very distinctive nose. And I was like, of course I can help you, like choose some things to help you contour it. She was like, I really just want to make it look slimmer. She was a middle-aged lady. And she was like, all these young girls on the Instagram.
We're going to call her Peggy.
Peggy was like, all the young girls on the Instagram, they do this thing where they put brown. It makes everything smaller. And I was like, yes, it's called contouring. We actually have quite a good range of products here. Depends if you like cream products, do you like powder products? Like, how are you going to do this? Like, do you have much experience with makeup? She never worn a lick of makeup. Like, maybe did a bit of mascara if she was feeling fancy. Like, very, very minimal idea about makeup. And I think contouring is actually quite an advanced thing. I know everyone does it, but it's still quite advanced if you don't have like the basic skills. I'd like shown her what to do, and she was just a bit like, it's just a brown line. And I was like, you're kind of trying to create this like shadow where there isn't really a shadow. Nose contouring is particularly difficult anyway. It's like any makeup artist out there will know that like you can't just do someone's makeup once and get their nose contour right.
Yeah.
Like it takes time to really form a bond with someone to really understand what they want from their nose contouring. But she looked in the mirror and was like, oh, I can still see my nose. And I was a bit like, I'm not a surgeon. Like, I can't just cut your nose off. Like, you will still see it. Like,
I can still see my nose.
I can still see my nose. And I was just like,
gout.
I can't help you. I can give you something to maybe like in images, make it look a very specific way. But also, you can't just do one area of makeup. You can't just be like, I'm wearing nothing anywhere else, but I have the fiercest nose contour you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, no, you need the lashes. You need everything else, because everything has to be in harmony and proportioned in a way that diverts attention away from the areas you don't want and brings attention to the areas that you do. So I was just very like, it was one of those moments where I was just like, sorry, I actually can't really do anything because you can still see your nose.
Dr. Dubrow.
Dr. Dubrow lift, girls.
Yeah.
That's probably the end of my retail horror stories, if
Ooh.
I'm honest. Yeah.
So I was murdered.
Oh, God, really? You look... She died, but she made a full recovery.
She made a full recovery.
Looking really good for
Thank
murder.
you. Yeah, I look pretty good for a dead bitch.
Oh, throwback to literally a year ago.
So guys,
let us know
the
your
thing is,
horror
I
stories.
have loads more stories. Obviously, I worked in retail for fucking.
If you want a
11,
part 2,
12
I'm
years.
sure I can rack the brains and think of some more.
But let me know down below. Well, let us know down below any of your own retail horror stories.
Have
any
you
more
experienced what we have?
any extreme
Similar
Karens
things?
you've used.
Used?
Yeah.
Used
in
and
the
abused.
Used
Maybe
in the
not
bakery
abused.
aisle. You beat with the courgette.
Oh. In the bakery
Yeah,
aisle.
I meant to say croissant.
Baked courgette.
Yeah, I meant to say croissant.
Baguette.
Baguette and baguette and there's
Baguette.
courgette. Yeah. So please let us know anything that's
Yes,
happened to
please.
you. And gosh,
I'm always in the comments. I'm always reading what you guys
yes,
think of Gag Of The
stalking
Millennial.
all of you, finding your IP addresses,
No,
the way you live.
let's not joke about that.
Thank you so much for watching this episode or listening on SoundCloud
Yes.
or iTunes or all the good places you can listen
If
to
you'd
podcasts.
like us to cover any more topics, let us know in the comments
Yes,
as well.
we are
Anything
always
specific.
open to suggestions. So if you want us to cover any sort of topics, discussions, anything, please let us know down in the comment section below.
Yes,
And also, if you are listening on like SoundCloud or iTunes or all these kind of places, please give us a review.
Oh, yes.
That'd be
A
nice.
star. Do people get
Spotify.
stars?
I think iTunes do stars.
Stars.
I think it's stars. I'm not
5
sure.
stars for the women on the
But please
game.
give us like thumbs up and stars and things on iTunes and Spotify if you are listening on there, because that's really great.
Yeah, it helps us out.
Yeah, it really helps us out.
Don't be an arsehole in retail
Don't
workers.
be an arsehole. Yes, exactly. Please.
That's the advice for today, girls.
Goodbye.
Bye, girls.